1 Intro. What if the reason you can't stop overthinking isn't because your mind is broken, but because it's been trained this way? You replay conversations. You imagine futures that never arrive. You analyze emotions that don't even belong to this moment. The Stoics warned us about this trap 2,000 years ago. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Before we go deeper, subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, because what comes next might change how you relate to your own mind. 2. The modern struggle. Lena wakes up and her mind is already running. Not with ideas, with unfinished loops. A message she sent last night. A tone in someone's voice. A headline that felt like a warning. She hasn't even stood up, and she's already rehearsing what to say, what to fix, what to prevent. Ethan looks fine on the outside. He answers quickly. He jokes. He keeps moving. But the moment the room goes quiet, his thoughts get loud. He rewinds a conversation like it's a crime scene. He searches for the one sentence that ruined everything. The one choice that could cost him respect, love, safety. He calls it being responsible, but it feels like being trapped. This is the modern struggle. We live in a world that rewards constant scanning. The phone trains your attention to jump. The feed trains your nervous system to brace. Work trains you to measure your worth in output. And relationships, especially today, can feel like they come with invisible tests. So your mind does what it thinks will protect you. It keeps analyzing. Overthinking isn't just thinking too much. It's a survival strategy that stayed too long. It's your brain trying to control uncertainty by building 1,000 scenarios. But the cost is real. You lose the present while trying to secure the future. You can be sitting with someone you love and still be mentally negotiating a problem that hasn't even happened. Lena doesn't want drama. She wants peace. Ethan doesn't want to be cold. He wants certainty. But the harder they chase certainty, the more anxious they become, because certainty isn't something the world hands out anymore. And that's why overthinking feels impossible to stop. It's not a habit of the mind. It's a habit of fear. 3. Stoic interruption. Now comes the interruption. The stoic moment that cuts through the noise like a clean blade. Marcus doesn't argue with Lena's thoughts. He doesn't tell Ethan to just relax. He simply asks a question that feels almost unfair in its simplicity. Why are you treating every thought like a command? Because that's what overthinking really is. Not intelligence, not depth, obedience. Lena thinks she's being careful. Ethan thinks he's being responsible. But Marcus would call it something else. Confusing attention with truth. The mind produces a thought, and we instantly stamp it with authority. This must matter. This must be solved. This must be who I am. The Stoics warned us, your first impression is not your final judgment. A thought can appear like a headline, urgent, emotional, absolute, while being completely wrong. The mind is a storyteller, not a judge. It can draft a disaster in seconds and call it preparation. Marcus watches people suffer twice, once from what happens, and again from what they imagine will happen. He would say the second suffering is optional, not because life is easy, but because your mind is not the world. So he teaches a hard discipline. Treat thoughts like passing strangers. Notice them, let them speak, but don't hand them the keys to your nervous system. Ethan hears that and wants to argue. But what if I miss something? Marcus would answer, you are not missing life's threats. You are missing life. Lena feels that line land in her chest, because she knows the truth. She's been living in rehearsal. She's been planning conversations that never happen, grieving futures that never arrive, solving problems that don't exist yet. And the more she does it, the more her body starts to believe it's in danger. This is the Stoic interruption. You don't need to silence the mind. You need to stop worshiping it. The moment a thought arrives, ask, is this within my control? Is it useful right now? Or is it just fear wearing logic as a disguise? That single pause doesn't feel dramatic. It feels ordinary. But in that ordinary pause, freedom starts. 4. The hidden mechanism. Overthinking doesn't survive on too many thoughts. It survives on a misunderstanding. Your brain believes that if it can predict enough, it can prevent enough, so it keeps running simulations, like a machine that never stops. Not because it's powerful, but because it's scared. Here's the hidden mechanism. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to buy control with attention. You pay with your focus, your sleep, your peace, hoping control will show up as a reward. But control doesn't work that way. Notice what happens right before the spiral. A tiny spark, an unread text, a delayed reply, a look that feels off, a memory that hits out of nowhere. The mind labels it danger. Not always loud danger. Sometimes subtle danger. Rejection, embarrassment, failure, being misunderstood. Then it does what it thinks a good protector would do. It starts collecting evidence. It replays the scene. It edits your words. It imagines their reaction. It builds 10 endings and calls it being prepared. But preparation turns into punishment when you can't stop. And the mind can't stop because it's chasing one impossible thing: certainty. The Stoics saw this clearly. They knew the mind loves certainty more than truth. Certainty feels like relief, even if the story is painful. At least it's a story you can hold. Uncertainty feels like falling. So we choose a story. We choose the worst one. They're upset. I ruined it. This will end. And the mind tightens its grip because a bad certainty still feels safer than an open question. That's why overthinking is addictive. It gives the illusion that you're doing something, solving, protecting, controlling, when you're actually feeding fear with your attention. And the body keeps score. Your shoulders stay up, your jaw stays tight, your stomach forgets how to rest. You call it thinking, but your nervous system calls it threat. Once you see the mechanism, you can change the relationship, because you realize the spiral isn't intelligence. It's a bargain you didn't mean to make, trading the present for the illusion of control. 5. Stoic reframe. The Stoic reframe isn't stop thinking. It's stop obeying. A thought shows up and it sounds like authority. You need to fix this. You need to replay that. You need to figure it out right now. But the Stoics would ask you to do something almost shocking in modern life. Treat that thought like a suggestion, not a verdict. Marcus would remind you, you don't control what appears in the mind. You control what you grant it. Attention is a vote. Every time you chase a thought, you're telling your brain, yes, this is urgent. Yes, this is danger. And your nervous system responds like it's true. So the reframe begins with a single decision. I will not confuse presence with permission. Just because a thought is present doesn't mean it gets to lead. Lena feels the pull first. Her mind offers the same familiar script. If I analyze enough, I'll feel safe. Marcus interrupts with a steadier script. Safety doesn't come from certainty. It comes from clarity about what's mine to handle. Ethan feels it too. He wants to solve the discomfort. He wants to close the loop. But Stoicism teaches a different kind of strength. Staying open without collapsing. Holding uncertainty without turning it into a catastrophe. Here's the practical Stoic move. When a thought arrives, you don't wrestle it, you name it. Not, I'm failing. But, there's the fear of failing. Not, they hate me. But, there's the fear of rejection. That tiny shift changes everything. Because you stop living inside the thought and start observing it, you become the one who sees the storm, not the one who gets thrown by it. Then you ask the Stoic question that resets the whole system. What is in my control right now? Not later, not in theory, right now. Maybe what's in your control is one honest sentence, one breath, one boundary, one walk outside, one decision to wait before responding. And that's why the Stoic reframe works. It doesn't promise a mind with no noise. It gives you a self that isn't ruled by the noise. 6. Practical Stoic practice. Here's the practice. Not a theory, not a quote you save and forget. A simple Stoic drill you can use in real time, while the thought is happening. First, catch the spark. Overthinking never starts with a storm. It starts with a flicker, an unread message, a delayed reply, a small shift in someone's tone. The moment you notice that, uh-oh, feeling, don't rush to solve it. Just name the moment. This is the spark. That alone creates distance. Second, label the thought. Don't become it. Instead of, I'm messing everything up, say, I'm having the thought that I'm messing everything up. Instead of, they don't care, say, I'm having the fear that they don't care. This sounds small, but it's massive. You move from being inside the movie to sitting in the theater. Third, run the Stoic filter, control, usefulness. Now, ask 3 questions, slowly. Is this in my control? Is this useful? Is this needed right now? If the answer is no to any of them, you don't keep feeding it. You pause. Fourth, choose one small action inside your control. Stoicism isn't passive, it's precise. If something truly needs attention, give it one clean step, no spirals. Send one calm message, write one sentence, set one boundary. Take one breath with your shoulders down. One action is medicine. 10 imaginary actions are poison. Fifth, practice the Stoic delay. When your mind demands instant closure, give it a delay on purpose. Tell yourself, not now. In 20 minutes, set a timer if you need to. This trains your nervous system to tolerate uncertainty without panicking. Most thoughts lose 70% of their power when you don't respond immediately. Sixth, return to the body. Overthinking lives in the head, but it's powered by the body. So bring the body back to safety. Unclench your jaw. Drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Feel your feet. Take one slow breath and exhale longer than you inhale. You're teaching your system, we're not in danger. We're just in discomfort. Finally, do the night review, 2 lines. Not a diary. Before sleep, write, what did I control today? What did I pretend I could control? No shame, just clarity. That's Stoicism. Do this for a week, not perfectly, consistently. And you'll notice something quiet. Your mind still speaks, but it no longer owns you. 7. Quiet resolution. Something subtle happens when you stop fighting your mind. The noise doesn't vanish overnight, but it loses its authority. Lena notices it first in small moments. A pause before replying. A breath that actually reaches her chest. The urge to explain herself fades, replaced by something steadier, presence. She realizes she doesn't need to win every inner argument to be at peace. Ethan feels it too. The thoughts still knock, but they don't barge in. He lets uncertainty sit beside him without turning it into a threat. And in that space, his body finally learns what calm feels like. Not excitement, not certainty, just enough safety to rest. This is the quiet resolution Stoicism points to. Not control over life, but clarity about yourself. Not silence in the mind, but sovereignty over attention. You stop rehearsing a future you can't command and return to a moment you can actually live. And the world doesn't collapse when you do. Relationships soften. Decisions get cleaner. Sleep comes easier. You discover that peace was never hiding in the perfect thought. It was waiting in the pause between thoughts. If this resonated, share it with someone who's been stuck in their own head. Leave a comment about which practice you'll try tonight. Like this video if it helped you breathe a little easier. And subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. And where clarity is practiced, not preached.